Good morning, Michael.
Hello.
And now I will turn it over to our Toastmaster, Lorianne Callender.
Thank you, Parveen. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Order of Smedley. I'm the president and the Toastmaster today. I want to welcome everybody to our club. By a visual show of hands, how many are attending for the first time today? One, so we have 2, 3. Jerry, you haven't been here before?
No.
So, oh, well, welcome. So we have four new guests. We have a couple stalker guests. We welcome you. For the first time guests, I want to welcome you to the Order of Smedley. As a short introduction to our club, we are a chartered advanced hybrid club. That means in order to join our club, you need to have your CC and CL or have completed your Pathways Level 2 in order to apply for membership. Since you have succeeded that far in Toastmasters, we assume you know what all the meeting rules are. You assume how a typical Toastmaster meeting goes. So we take off the training wheels and we dive straight into the deep end of the pool. You'll find this club will operate at a higher level than typical club, a typical community club would operate. And that's how we separate ourselves as an advanced club. We highly value evaluations in this club, and not just simple kind evaluations, but evaluations that are designed to help us actually improve our speaking. One of the things that you'll notice, since we have a presenter, we'll have a different style of evaluations today. Jerry is a workshop presenter. We typically have a lot of workshops in our club from presenters from around the world. Jerry will be one of them. That is typical of our club environment. We also will have a couple of speakers. Our typical club meeting runs 2 hours. Today will be rather short at 1.5 hours because we are still doing open house type meetings. Then we also have table topic evaluations. So we assign a table topic evaluator who will evaluate immediately after each table topic presenter. Just a short 30, 60-second evaluation. Also, our speaker evaluations come immediately after our speaker. Another thing that is awesome to the Order of Smedley is our hybrid model. Since our inception, we meet both in room and online. So that brings a unique set of challenges in how a room's technology is set up so that our online visitors feel like they're right in the room with those of us that are in the room. If we were all in the room together and online, you'll also see me demonstrating our use of microphones. We highly encourage the use of handheld microphones and lavalier microphones. Most of us speak on the public stage, Kai, myself, Parveen, Jerry. So we do a lot of practice with microphone handling as well as technology, because when you're a guest on someone else's stage, you never know what's going to happen. So we become very well versed, as Parveen learned in her last presentation, that those skills paid off. So I want to welcome you to the Order of Smedley. We're going to go ahead and take a moment and go around and allow our first time, not our stalker guests, our first time guests to go around the room and go ahead and introduce yourselves and let us know where you go. So in my Brady Bunch model here, we are going to start with Misaki. We'll go Misaki,
Yes.
Claudia, and then Michael.
Yes.
Okay, so Misaki.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Where are you calling from?
I'm Masaki, and I'm from Tokyo. I was just attending the another. I'm from Nakano Toastmasters Ground, which is in Japan.
That's the one that
I think the Teppei, another Japanese guy, attended the last time. I think we were same.
Did come, yes.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. For those of you that
Thank
are
you. Thank you for
unaware,
having me
Zan
today.
was
Thank you.
in Tokyo recently and attended a club out there, and so a lot of them have been guesting back in return.
He's now finding the people to recruit her. He's a recruiter.
Yes. All right, well, welcome, Masaki. Claudia, go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Claudia Mitchell-McLeod. I'm a member of Advanced Articulators and Sterling Toastmasters. And I recently got my DTM in April, the end of April. And after I got my DTM, I got my certificate for my Advanced Leadership Silver. How special is that? In that order, I might note.
Congratulations, Claudia. That brings up another point of technology that's different in the Order of Smedley. Since we can't hear you applaud, our standard applause is this. So we can certainly see that. All right, Jessica, we've heard you're not first time. Michael, you're first time. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello, salute from Greece. I learned about your club thanks to Virginia, your accounter. Time here is 4:30 p.m., so I'm talking to you from the future. Best wishes.
Well, then that brings up another point. Masaki, are you calling from the past or the future? What time is it there?
I think future.
It's currently
No. Apparently, I think I'm from future. Your future.
You're from my future. Okay. Well, let me know how my future works out. All right, Meigs, welcome. I guess it's Meigs is how you say that? M-E-I-G-S, Glidewell. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Take yourself off mute. Not video, off mute. Come back. Come back. There you go.
Video and audio. Megs Glidewell. I live in Sarasota, Florida. Been only an ATM, although I've been a Toastmaster since 1982. I have belonged to many clubs as I've moved from corporation to corporation. And I find it a riot. I forgot, I misset for temporarily audio and video since I wrote computer manuals. I've written 65 computer manuals. But as we roll forward in time and backward from Greece, etc., I seem to be rolling into Luddite land. Very interested in public speaking. A pleasure to be here.
Good to see you, Megs. Good to see you again.
Oh, Zane. Yes, Zane.
We used to both be part of Positively Speaking in Sarasota.
Fantastic. Welcome. Now, did we say your name correctly? Is it Meigs? Or how do you say your name?
Megs. It rhymes with eggs, legs, begs. A dozen eggs, just one Megs.
Got it. We're glad to have you around. I've never known a Megs, and I'm gonna have fun saying your name all week. And you're gonna be my word of the week, my name of the week. At this time, I'm gonna go ahead and identify the roles that our members will be filling today, our meeting roles. Our speech evaluator today will be fulfilled by Kelly. Our odd counter is Virginia. Our timer is Zan. Our generally evaluator will be Parveen. I'm not your table topics evaluator. That is also Kelly. And Kelly, you got a triple header here. You're also our grammarian. Would you go ahead and let us know the word of the day, and I'll add it to the chat box, as well as the link to the agenda, just so you know, on the orderofsmedley.org where you RSVP'd, there is a post out there for today's meeting. Our agenda is out there, and at the end of the meeting, I'll also invite you to go out there and fill out an exit survey. So at this time, Kelly, go ahead and give us our word of the day.
Our word of the day is pratfall. Pratfall means a fall onto your buttocks or an embarrassing mistake. Used in a sentence, I made a mad dash for the water and tripped, tumbling head over feet into a pratfall, which made for a funny home video. Pratfall.
Well, we've definitely had a few pratfalls already this morning on this meeting. So thank you. Pratfall, it is in the chat box. I hope everybody could see that. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our speaker. I guess I should pull up her bio. Jerry Almond is our speaker today. We're going to go ahead and let her get ready. Go ahead and clear your throat and grab a glass of water, Jerry, as I introduce you. She has never intended to write a book. Just as she never intended to plan to tool around the country in a tin can house, her husband calls an RV, which is where she's calling from today. After her husband sweet-talked her into an RV purchase, she turned their travels into a humorous Amazon bestseller, The Reluctant RV Wife. I think the key in that phrase being RV. Jerry credits Toastmasters for giving her the discipline, skills, and confidence to see the book through from the initial concept to a completed manuscript. Today, she will share choices she made along the way with writing, editing, publishing, and marketing. While her book may never persuade anyone to buy an RV, she hopes her story will inspire others to write their dreams. Please welcome Jerry as she presents How a Book Was Born. Jerry Almond, How a Book Was Born, How a Book Was Born, Jerry Almond.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I'm really excited to be here today to share my story with you about how I wrote a book and some of the things I learned along the way. I'm sure you've all heard, I've heard it a lot, people say, oh, I'm going to write a book one day. And as most of us know, most people who say that never get around to doing it. My book, The Reluctant RV Wife, was a fluke. I never planned to write a book, just as I never planned to tootle down the road in an RV. But I had dreamed since childhood of being a writer, and writing became my retirement goal. Joining Toastmasters was part of that goal because I thought Toastmasters could help me develop discipline and also help me find my voice. My husband would tell you that this book that I wrote was really his book. He maintains that I had absolutely nothing to say until he bought me this RV. Once we got that RV and started taking trips, I soon realized that his RV enthusiasm was unlimited and his wanderlust insatiable. I threw hissy fits because every time we went out on the road, each RV trip seemed to last a little longer than the one before. I knew I had to reconcile being torn away from, I just lost my audio. Here we go. I have lost.
We hear you fine. We hear you fine.
I can't see me anymore though. Okay.
We
I will
see
keep
you.
going. You can see me. I cannot see you. Okay. I began writing on a 5-month-long trip to Alaska in 2017. I was writing down my angst. I needed to come to terms with this reluctance on my part. I realized pretty soon that the reluctance went far, that it wasn't really a reluctance to RV. It was my adult temper tantrum coming to terms with retirement, changes in health, changes in this marriage because suddenly we were together 24/7, and coming to terms with my own mortality. I've decided to break my presentation today into 3 parts. I'm going to tell you, first of all, about writing a first draft and some of the things I learned. Secondly, I will talk about editing and revising a manuscript. And third, I will talk about publishing and marketing a book. Writing that first draft. You've decided to write a book. How do you start? First of all, you need a very clear idea of what you want to say. You will waste a lot of time otherwise. You may not know whether you're writing fiction or nonfiction. You may not know how you want the ending to be, but you need a very strong beginning, a clear picture of what your book is going to be about, and a general idea of how it's going to end. And you need to be able to say this in one sentence. The one sentence summarizing my book: The Reluctant RV Wife tells the story of a retired couple taking off in an RV and the ways it changed them. Secondly, you need to find a unique angle for your story. When I started looking for how to fine-tune a book about RVing, I found a lot of how-to manuals out there. I found a fair number of memoir-type books, but they turned into travel logs, and I did not want to write a travel log. I wanted a personal story, and I realized when I started writing with all my whining and complaining, I needed to make it funny because nobody wanted to listen to an old woman complain. You need to feel passion for your topic because a typical book runs 70 to 80,000 words, and that translates to about 250 to 300 pages. So you're going to be working with this topic a long time. Make sure you can stand it and follow it through to the end. Commit to a schedule. You will find almost every book on how to write a book that will tell you to sit down at the same place under the same circumstances each day. It's incredible how this works. At first, you may have a little trouble getting started, but real quickly, it's going to become like a conditioned response. You sit down at your laptop kind of at the same time each day, and the words are going to gush. I drafted my entire 75,000 word manuscript by getting up at 5 or 5:30 in the morning and writing for 2 or 3 hours while my husband snored at the other end of the RV. I'm telling you, this kind of discipline of making yourself sit down every day and work on your project really does work. Just like with making a Toastmaster speech, make your writing conversational. Write as if you are speaking to someone. I write for my mother because she's not here anymore to listen to my stories. Make every word count. Just like with a Toastmaster speech, you want to find strong verbs, literary devices. You need to be concise. Pretend you're Hemingway. Think like a movie director. If you're writing fiction or creative nonfiction, think in terms of scenes. And I'll give just enough detail in each scene that the writer is able to form visual images, and also enough detail that they can connect emotionally with what you are saying. Don't try to edit as you go, just write. The creative part of getting thoughts and stories down on paper uses a different side of your brain than that part that corrects mistakes and edits and reworks sentences. If you get bogged down with trying to rewrite awkward sentences as you go along, you are really compromising your project. And finally, when it comes to writing that first draft, be prepared and accept that it's going to be a lot more work and take a lot more time than you probably think it's going to take. Okay, so you completed a first draft. What now? You feel so proud, so relieved. Sorry, but your work is just beginning at this point. You are going to spend far more time editing, reworking, and revising than you did writing that first draft. Regarding the content, as you look at what you wrote the first time, realize that that is not your best work. You could do better. So with the content, the way what you're saying, dig and then dig deeper, and don't be afraid to cut out sections of your work. It's called throwing away your babies, but there are going to be, you will have written a lot of extraneous material that does not move your story along. I use diagnostic programs when I'm revising and editing. I love the program on Word, the spelling and grammar check, but you can program that thing for punctuation, for cliches, for excess wordiness. When I use that word diagnostic program, and sometimes I'll use it paragraph by paragraph in a book length manuscript, I am striving to get a reading ease quotient of between 70 and 75%. I want a grade equivalency analysis of about 6%, and I want as few passive sentences as I can possibly get. There are a lot of writing apps out there. You might want to use 2 or 3 because the different apps pick up different things. In addition to that word diagnostic program, Grammarly is very popular. There's also a Hemingway app. If you Google writing apps, you will find many, many to choose from. I use that find function in Word a lot too. I have long lists of words. When I've completed a draft, I will go through and try to eliminate as many of these words as possible. Words like that. I will plug in ly and try to get rid of as many adverbs as I possibly can. The word was is a tip-off that you probably got a passive sentence. Find a stronger verb and try to eliminate as many of the word wases as possible. I cannot emphasize the importance of getting feedback for your writing. Writers might write in solitude, but they need writing buddies to read, evaluate, or critique their work. Join a critique group. If you can't find one where your personalities click and you like what's the feedback you're getting, form your own critique group. I think 5 or 6 members is perfect. The group that I rely on so much, we email material about 5 days before our meetings. We have 6 people in the group, and so when you go to the meeting, you are receiving 5 different perspectives on your work. And this is the way you get better, when you start getting feedback from other people. Finally, regardless of what you want to do with that manuscript, when you have made it as good as you can possibly make it, I would recommend you find an editor. Now, for an 80,000 word manuscript or whatever, prices vary incredibly. I've gotten estimates as low as $600 and as high as $5,000 for an editing. But if you want a product that's going to look more professional probably than what you can do yourself, you really need objective professional eyes taking a look at it line by line and offering feedback. So you've got that completed manuscript. It's been edited. It's as good as you're ever going to be able to make it. What do you do now? Well, you're going to need to decide whether you want to self-publish, whether you want to try to find a publisher, or whether you want to go with one of the hybrid vanity type publishers that have popped up within the past 10 years ago. There used to be only the self-publishing or the professional publishing house. This is an emotional topic, which direction you go, and you'll find people with very strong feelings on all sides. These days, the publishing industry is pretty much ruled by 5 big publishing houses, the giants, and all of their imprints, which are their subsidiary publishers that specialize in different genres. You'll recognize the names, the Simon & Schusters, the Random House. Those are the ones that rule the world. There are smaller, successful publishing houses, and that's the direction that I went, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Many people these days, because of the difficulty of landing a traditional book contract with a publisher, choose to self-publish. And there are some compelling reasons for making this choice. First of all, if you self-publish, you are going to have total control of your book. No one's going to be able to make you eliminate your adverbs if you love adverbs. Nobody's going to start tinkering with the title that you have fallen in love with or the cover design that you want, because they're going to take it and they're going to do, if you have total control when you are self-publishing. Some people have the skills to do the formatting, the covers, the layout, all of that, and don't have to pay anyone. But if you don't have those artistic and computer skills, the self-publishing and expense might be finding someone to help you get everything ready to publish. There's a caveat here though. Just because you publish a book and it's available on Amazon, it does not mean that anyone's going to find your book and buy it. If you self-publish, you are probably going to need to invest quite a bit of time, energy, and money into promoting your book, or you might need to pay a publicist to do that for you. So you decide to go with a traditional publisher, which can be hard to find. By the way, an agent is that in between the publisher step. So some people go directly to a publisher, and some people start off looking for an agent and letting the agent try to sell your manuscript to a publisher. Traditional way of finding an agent or a publisher is to send off query letters. That's the old-fashioned way, and I would not recommend it. I wasted, I don't know how many hours with over 50 emails and never got a single response. Well, I got a few negative responses, but I certainly didn't find an agent or a publisher with the traditional method of query letters. The way it's usually done, and this is what I did, is to pitch a manuscript to an agent or a publisher at a workshop or a convention or a conference. I pitched The Reluctant RV Wife at the Florida Writers Association annual conference in Altamont Springs in October 2018. And for a pitch, many people are shocked to realize you have to pay for this. I think I paid $30 for 10-minute sessions with 2 agents and a publisher. With that pitch, I can truly say thank you, Toastmasters, because I am convinced that it was that pitch that I worked harder on than I ever worked on a contest speech that made the publisher sit up and pay attention. Getting your foot in the door, and I hate to use a cliche, but that is difficult. But if you can somehow figure out, just like with a unique angle for your content, some kind of unique angle when you are pitching to sell an agent or a publisher on your idea, you are far ahead. The publisher that I pitched to, actually an agent and a publisher, both wanted the complete manuscript. The agent decided it didn't have enough action and conflict for him. The publisher said he loved it. And about a month after I submitted it to him in its entirety, I had a signed contract. I signed the contract in December 2018. Production on the book began in April 2019, and the book was released on August 5th, 2019. So I was very, very pleased to have things move along this quickly. But I was just absolutely not prepared for the matter-of-fact, impersonal experience of publishing a book and working with an editor. I had expected some warm, gentle, nurturing woman to kind of take me under her wings and teach me about writing and tell me why she was making the changes that she was making and helping me become a better writer through the process. Instead, I got an editor who ran my manuscript through 3 professional, highly technical computer software programs. After each run, I would receive an analysis and the recommendations of all the changes I needed to make. It was the most tedious, grueling experience of my life. Going through that manuscript, and before it was all over, I can't tell you how many times I had seen that completed manuscript as it was being completed, but it took 6 weeks to complete that editing revision process. Cover came next, and that was the fun part. And although a cover designer ended up doing this cover, the ideas were mine, and I am so proud of that cover of the book. A good cover you should be able to read it from the other side of the room, and it should grab the attention. And I love the cover that we came up with. The layout was the final step. But now for the nitty-gritty of publishing. My publisher says anyone can write a book, but not anyone can sell a book. And I quickly learned the truth of those words. First, the financial realities. My book retails for $19.95. When I make the most on a sale when I sell directly at book festivals, book clubs, out of the trunk of my car. By the way, I was doing presentations in RV parks arranged by the activities directors in these parks until the pandemic hit. And that was like a great way to market this book because RVers love to read stories about other RVers. But when I sell a book for $19.95, I have had to order it from the publisher for $10. So the most I could ever make on selling a book would be $9.95. And of course, I have to pay income tax and state tax and everything else on that. The ebook came out in October. And the ebook's available on Amazon at $6.99. But I will say I was thrilled to learn that with the ebook, I get about 65% percentage of the sale. So I make a lot more on an ebook sale. I make about $4.50 compared with only about $2 per book on the Amazon sales, because Amazon takes its percentage and my publisher takes a big chunk. My percentage from the publisher will go up significantly once he's made about $5,000 on the book, because he estimates that is about what it costs him to produce and market a book. And by the way, my book is available through this publisher in 16 countries overseas right now. The way I see it, though, financially, it's going to take a long, long time if I ever recoup the money that I've invested in the writing classes, the courses, the workshops and conferences and conventions. I had to pay a professional web designer to create a website for me because I did not know how to do that. I have ordered bookmarks and business cards. I have ordered posters and banners. But at least now that I'm a published writer, these are all legitimate business expenses. And I can only hope that in the 2 or 3 years, maybe I will at least be able to operate in the black rather than the red. In closing, I'm sorry I didn't get off my butt and write a book when I was 40 instead of waiting until I was 70. But being a published writer is a rush, unlike anything I have ever known. Looking back, I think joining Toastmasters was one of the best decisions of my life. It helped me with discipline, and it helped me organize and arrange my thoughts. It gave me the confidence to tackle and complete what I really consider to be the biggest accomplishment of my life. But perhaps the most important thing I got from Toastmasters that is helping me at this point is with the marketing. Selling a book is all about communication, and I think successful authors have to be able to meet the public and sell their book. I look back at my husband's desire to buy an RV and see the country, and I realized we both had our dreams come true. With this RV, my husband can now brag that we have camped in 49 of the 50 states. Of course, we'll never get to Hawaii in this RV, but for me, it was writing a book, because he was absolutely right. I mean, I really did not have the material for a book-length manuscript that I could commit to until this RV came into my life. If you have dreams of writing a book, I hope I've inspired you to start writing, because really all it takes is an idea, motivation, and discipline. But whatever your dreams, follow them now, because sometimes dreams really do come true. Madam Toastmaster.
Beautiful speech. Thank you for sharing your experience with us, Jerry. We certainly learned a lot about you, and we certainly learned a lot about thinking through writing a book if we decide to publish it. I couldn't agree with you more on the critique groups. When I wrote my children's book, I joined the Children's Literary Guild, and their critique groups, you certainly have to shop them around. Certainly have to shop them around, but they are very useful. So thank you for joining us today.
You're very welcome.
At this time, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our second speaker of the day, Jean-Paul, who has joined us. We've had a switch in evaluator, so Beverly Plant has made it in. Beverly will be evaluating Jean-Paul's speech. So welcome Beverly to the meeting. Jean-Paul has been a Toastmaster for almost 7 years. He is a current District 46 PR manager. That's up in New York for your first-time guests. And he is a club growth director-elect. Got a lot on his plate as he belongs to quite a few clubs. Today, he gives a speech from his third Pathways Level 1, Research and Presenting. Jean-Paul Rebol, Level 1 speech. Jean-Paul.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. And before I start, could I ask that I get permission to share my screen, please? I see the host does not allow me to share a screen at the moment. Okay, something is coming up. Can everybody see my screen? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Typical American, typical Italian. Huh. I'm sure you've either said or heard that before, and you've heard people reprimand you, or maybe the voice in the back of your mind actually told you that that's not right to generalize. But we all know that sometimes it does make sense to group people, if just for a way to use shorthand. Now, as part of my research project, I thought of, if we have to have a general idea of a group of people, how do scientists really think about that? And lo and behold, there are at least 15 different ways of looking at different national cultural groupings. Now, of course, any grouping that has one particular culture can be considered a cultural grouping. So what is culture? It's the collective programming of the human mind, which distinguishes the members of one group from another. And basically what cultural values means, or what makes a culture, is what is important to us, to a specific group, and more importantly, what behaviors to expect. So it's telling other people who want to be part of this group, or who consider themselves part of the group, how to behave. It doesn't take individual behavioral diversity out of the picture, but it just says, well, if you're one of us, we kind of expect you to do this or that, or not to do this or that. Now, if you compare different cultures, it's not about just black or white. It's not about a yes or a no, but it's about a range of or how much or how little something is important. And multiple dimensions. So it's not only one dimension. You don't say, oh, typical American, they always do this, or they never do that. It's multiple dimensional, and therefore perhaps taking one stereotype. And you might think that with the global world, and particular with Hollywood and all our television programs being all around the world from America, that there might just be one global type of culture emerging. Scientists have proven that these differences in culture have been largely stable. Even for people who've come to study in America, they don't really change the culture when they go back. And people who watch American programs don't really change how they behave once they're outside of their television room. Now, as I mentioned, there are multiple scientists who look at the social scientists who look at national cultures, and I decided to look at Hofstede. Hofstede is a Dutch scientist, and the reason why I liked him the best is because it seemed to me that he had a lot of data that he based it on. He started out by working for IBM, that is in more than 40 countries, more than 120,000 employees, and he did it over many years. So this has been around since the 70s. His dimensions are uncertainty avoidance. So how comfortable is society with uncertainty? And countries that are, or cultures that are not comfortable with uncertainty, they have more rules than other countries that don't mind with living with some uncertainty. Power distance. How comfortable is a society with a big difference in the power dynamics? Gender roles. Societies that have specific male and female roles. Individualism versus group. Do you really work for the group, or do you think just yourself? That's the most important thing. Long-term orientation. What I'm doing today, even though I don't see the benefits, will it actually benefit the next generation? Will it will it help my children, my great-grandchildren even? And indulgence. Can we really say no to immediate gratification? I'm sure you already have your own types of ideas of where you fit in and where Americans would fit in. And perhaps we have people from other countries. Now, Hofstede has a wonderful online tool to really look at this information. And let me make this larger here. I hope I can make this larger. So as you can see, I chose Argentina, China, Japan, and the US, and looking at these 6 dimensions. From left to right, you'll see that China stands out as having the highest, being the highest in accepting power differences. And the US in orange has the lowest, but still 40%, or in a 1 to 100. Still a lot of people accept the idea that you pay deference to people with authority. Individualism. I think most of us would have expected the US to be very high in individualism. And China, they think that working for the greater good of the group is better. Japan, in this case, masculinity is very high there. In other words, specific roles for males. But even in the US, still 62%. I'm sure the women in the audience are maybe not surprised at that high number. Uncertainty avoidance. So rules or not. Japan has lots of rules, but Argentina as well. And long-term orientation. From a Confucian background, China and Japan have a higher long-term vision in their lives. They kind of know that things don't have to be perfect in this lifetime. And indulgence. Who in America can really say no to a nice cheesecake or another slice of pizza? Clearly, the Argentinians and the people in America, they live for the moment and have the most fun. And China, they can say no to that extra piece of cake. Madam Toastmaster, I think it's very clear that even though we're all unique and therefore all the same, there is something to be said to generalize, just to prepare ourselves to people. Thank you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Jean-Paul. Certainly appreciate your speech today. You know, when you those of us that have taken professional courses in college might remember our Management 101 courses where they teach different management styles and how the Japanese management teams plan generationally. So they believe in lifetime employment, and they plan not just for your generation of employment, but your next family's generation and their generation of employment, which is very opposite of American planning, where at best, Americans have a temporary job nowadays from 3 to 5 years. You know, you hear about a lot of companies going bankrupt because of their pension plans, where they had tried to adopt the Japanese culture of generation, and they're not doing quite so well with that. So at best, when you talk to a headhunter, I think Verlyn is a staffing pro. She can probably attest to this, about at best Americans can expect to hold their jobs 3 to 5 years. So certainly a difference between cultures, certainly a lot to learn, and certainly something to embrace as our club starts to expand beyond borders. Our last club meeting, we had 4 countries involved. We're still waiting for our first international member, at which point we'll forego the Pledge of Allegiance and adopt a more global opening of the meeting. But until then, we are searching for our first international member. No pressure on those of you joining from Tokyo or Greece or Canada. I think I got all of our visiting countries in there. Our speech evaluator has kindly requested extra time to put her evaluation together. So we're going to go ahead and skip the evaluation at the moment and move right into table topics, and then we'll come back to Beverly. So at this point, I'd like to introduce our table topics queen, Jeanette Sweeney.
Thank you. Alrighty, so I've got some choices here for book questions and beach questions. I will read the question and then pick a person to answer the question. If you wrote a book, what would your title be? Virginia.
Thank you, Madam Topics Master. If I wrote a book, what would my title be? Weapons of Mass Destruction. My weapons of mass destruction would be featured on the front cover. A knife, fork, spoons, pots and pans, and other kitchen weapons of mass destruction. For when I go into the kitchen, Lord help you and the people around you in my home, because you never know what might pop up. A delightful dessert, perhaps, something savory, but in most cases, it will be high in lard and fat content. So I wish. You see, prior to this meeting, I had to attend a Weight Watchers meeting. I was a bit miffed. I didn't lose any weight this week. I guess my weapons of mass destruction sidewinded me this week. And I can tell you what it was. It was a handmade Italian pizza with vegetables. Oh, and extra cheese, meaning extra fat. I can assure you, those little weapons of mass destruction will not be coming out next week. I plan on making it to the 55-pound mark soon. Thank you, Madam Topics Master.
Awesome, Virginia. That's awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. People on the beach typically read books or bring a book.
Jeanette.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. I forgot. Take it away, Kelly.
I think we always forget. Maybe it's the Zoom effect. I don't know. But I get to evaluate after the table topic speakers. Virginia, I always enjoy listening to your table topics. What I liked is you gave us the name of your book, which you answered the question, but you did it in an unusual way. We were thinking, or I was thinking, a weapon of mass destruction was going to be a bomb or a car accident or something along that lines. And you took the idea and you twisted it and you brought us along in your journey, which was great content, which is a #1 thing that they look for when you're in a table topics contest. So I felt you did a fantastic job on that. Your enthusiasm was there. Everything about it was great. So great job. Thank you. Back to Miss Jeanette.
Thank you, Kelly. All right. You're on the beach and you bring a book with you. What book do you bring? Mr. Zane, Nancy. You're muted.
Do I need to time myself?
I'll time you.
All right, thank you. Do you have the cards?
I'll show my phone.
All right, thank you. What book would I bring with me? I would bring any book that lets me relax and drift off into Fantasyland or hopes of a better future. So if we're talking about books in that area, then I would either pick the Bible because it's inspiring to me, or I would pick books of courage, books that have a hero in them. Perhaps I would pick a book where there's some high idea being communicated to encourage you towards more. If I could pick one book out of all of them, I would probably pick the Bible because it's already full of heroes. And once you have understood that hero life, you have an opportunity to really push forward and become that hero or heroine yourself. Thank you. That was my time.
Just had 1 minute. I didn't get a chance to put up the phone.
Oh.
Thank you. Well, we do have another book writer in the.
Kelly.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kelly. I forget. I will make myself a note.
Zane, you had to think about what your answer was going to be, and you gave us a variety of topics. So in the future, if you're able to narrow it down, you'd be able to answer it quicker and better, but I felt you did a really great job. The only other thing I would suggest is I think because you are the timer, you're sitting down low so we only see your head and we see all of the extra, and I 100% believe that's because of the timer. In this regards, because you are giving some sort of a speech, table topics or whatever, I would change your view so that we could see more of you. But,
okay.
Thank you. Back to Jeanette.
Thank you. As I was saying, we do have another book writer in the audience, and I'd like to ask her a question. So she already knows who she is. Jessica, you wrote a book. Tell us what you enjoyed about it and what took you the most time to discipline yourself to write it.
Writing a book has been one of the most joyful experiences of my life. If anybody here has ever embarked on any project where they knew nothing about what they were doing, and I think all of us have been there at some point, it can feel really overwhelming. What made this so amazing for me is that there was no overwhelm. Like Jerry suggested, I found a topic that I was so in love with and so passionate about that it just flowed out of my heart like it had to happen and nothing was going to get in its way. However, what took the most time was getting into that routine. As someone who had not been an experienced writer before and hadn't been in a regular practice, I wasn't really sure what my structure should look like. I created a little bit of a ritual for myself. I had a little practice I would begin before I would sit down to write. Particularly, I would listen to a Fleetwood Mac song that inspired the book, it was Landslide. I would listen to Landslide because it's a very emotional song about the changes in your life and being afraid to let go. So I would listen to that to connect with the emotion, and then I would just channel that into my writing. But I really had to show up every day, or maybe not every day for me. Sometimes it was just multiple days a week. The challenge, I think, was that we hear a lot about the best practices for doing something, and that can be very valuable, but then sometimes we just need to find what works best for us. That's what made it take a little bit for me to get into it, was trying to reconcile the best practices versus what I know works best for me. But once I found that, I was in the zone. I got that book out. It came out so quickly, and it was just so much joy, so much fun. And now I'm working on my second book. Can't wait for that. Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Awesome. All right, Kelly, go for it.
Jessica, your enthusiasm was off the charts. This was the perfect question for you because you came across with all this enthusiasm that I believe we all felt it, and now we all want to write a book. But I really enjoyed that. I loved your speech development. You gave us the positive portion, you gave us the negative portion, and you really developed your speech, which when you're presenting a table topic subject matter, it does need to be developed as a speech. So overall, great job, and I really enjoyed listening to it. Thank you. Back to you, Ms.
Okay. Now that we're in the beginning of the summer program, or the summer season, would you rather swim in a pool or the ocean? Parveen.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. I would rather swim in the ocean. I love the waves. I love the sand, not the mess it creates, but I like the waves and the body surfing and just frolicking on a beautiful sunny day in Florida, of course with my hat and sunscreen, but in the ocean, just jumping those waves and enjoying it. And it's unfortunate that this year I have not made it to the beach so far because I'm practicing safe social distancing. And the beach is there and we will all enjoy it once again. Unfortunately, right now, I cannot enjoy the beach. I was thinking maybe in June, maybe just driving down there one of these mornings by myself, but no, I wouldn't go swimming by myself, maybe with a few friends, just a couple people, and just jumping in the water for maybe 20, 30 minutes and then safely leaving. I would rather enjoy the water, and we're very fortunate to have the ocean and the water here. Yet we also have the choices of a pool, which we can enjoy all the time, but the freshwater ocean cannot be comparable to anything else. Thank you.
Okay, Parveen, you used very good structure when you were giving your answer to us. You did it just like you're supposed to, according to as if it's a speech. Your content, I liked how you made your content relevant to what's going on today. If you notice, she talked about COVID and social distancing. So even though your subject matter was a little abstract of do you prefer to swim here or swim here, you brought it back and circled it around to something that was extremely relevant to the time period we're in. So great job with that. And your subject matter was very appropriate to the question you were asked. So good job. Thank you. Ms. Jeanette.
Since we're in the state of Florida and we're surrounded by water, what beach is your favorite beach to attend? Claudia? Are you there?
I am here. I am aware that we are surrounded by water, and I am not a beach fan. I dislike having the feel of sand between my toes. That is so aggravating. What I do enjoy the most about beaches is the ability to watch a sunset on the water. I think that is priceless. I remember the first time somebody mentioned it to me. I was working off of Rocky Point, and we were there so we could see the water, and they said, come, watch the sunset, watch the sunset. And we were thinking, we're working. We really don't have time to watch any sunset. The sun rises and sets every day. What's the big deal? But if you've never seen it, it is absolutely amazing, breathtaking. And I tell people, and so many people like myself have never had that experience because so many times you just take it for granted. So wherein I can't say that Clearwater Beach is my favorite, or Honeymoon Island, or some beach in Sarasota, or any of that, I don't want to pick a beach, but I do want to pick seeing the sunset on the water. Thank you, Table Topics Master.
Claudia, you also took the question in a different direction. You were specifically asked, which I loved, you were specifically asked what beach you enjoyed. And instead of giving us the expected answer of I like this beach because of these things, you told us why you enjoy going to the beach in a whole different direction, and you didn't single out one beach. So that was great. I really enjoyed the way that you answered the question. And the most important thing you did was you created a picture for us. When you described the sunset and why you were looking at the sunset and what you felt, I felt it too. So you were able to create a great feeling for all of us. Great job. Thank you. Miss Jeanette.
Tabletop or Toastmaster, do I have time for a few more? Okay. All right. What do you happen to forget when you go to the beach? Sunglasses or sunscreen? Hi, Rambo. If you're there. Are you?
I'm there. Hang on one
Okay.
second. I'm going to make sure I get the video start. And would you do me a favor? I missed part of what you said.
You go to the beach and people typically forget items. Do you forget sunscreen or sunglasses?
I typically forget sunglasses. Now, part of it is because I wear glasses, I have a reduction in UV rays on it. And many times I'll be driving, don't have sunglasses on, and don't really need it. I'm okay with it. And then I'll get somewhere and I'll step out and I'll be doing something, and then I realize I've forgotten to do it. Now that gets offset because if I'm out hiking, I usually have a hat on, so that cuts out some of the sunglasses part. But the third, which a number of you will be familiar with, is because I'm doing quite a bit of photography usually, I typically don't like to have sunglasses on because that gets in the way of me seeing clearly through the camera, seeing what I want to capture and get as an image. So my preferred mode has become put on a hat that covers it, have the camera in hand so that I can shoot fairly quickly, fairly accurately. But that means there are times when I'm stepping out somewhere, usually for short periods of time, I don't have a hat and I don't have sunglasses, and I really should have it. So I typically will have the sunglasses in the car handy because there are times when we definitely need it. And I guess the other part is being here in Florida, we definitely need to have it when we're driving. So when I'm driving, pretty good. But when I step out of the car, not as disciplined as I perhaps should be.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kai. What I enjoyed about listening to Kai's speech is when he spoke, he was very direct and paused. So you had to listen to and absorb every word that he said. I feel that I notice a lot of people, we tend to talk, where he doesn't. He speaks intentionally and makes you listen. And I really think that's a fabulous way to do it, and a great job. You're direct and you drew us in to listening to what you had to say. So great job. Thank you. Back to you, Jeanette.
Thank you. One more. What is your favorite beach activity? Jerry. Jerry.
Like Claudia, I am not a beach person, but thank you, Table Topics Master, for that question. But I guess if I had to go to the beach, I would probably take a trashy novel with me. I would make sure I had an umbrella and 2 bottles of sunscreen because I have a very fair complexion. I would hope that dogs and children would not be running by and kicking sand up on my blanket. And I think I would probably want something very nice to sip on while I was at the beach. And that would probably be iced tea. I think I might sometime in the afternoon walk down to the edge and put my big toe in the water. But I certainly would not jump into the water and jump up and down like Parveen loves to do. That is so not me. So, you know, I'm really not a beach person. I would rather be reading my book, sitting under a tree in a lawn chair with grass under my toes rather than the sand. But that is my answer, Madam Table Topics Master. Please don't make me go to the beach.
Thank you. Kelly, take it away.
That was cute. Please don't make me go to the beach. that was my favorite part of your whole thing. What I did to prepare for this is I reviewed what the Table Topics contest looks for and its content. So a lot of what I've been talking about today is on content. So you gave us great content and you answered the question, but you took us again in a different direction, which is 100% fine because you're still answering the question. I enjoyed it and I agree with you. I'd rather be under the shade too. I'm a little fair. Great job. Thank you.
And that concludes my table topic session. Thank you. Back to you, Lorianne.
Thank you, Jeanette. It was interesting to hear everyone's answers. You can certainly tell that we're talking about, and I think the assumption was we're talking about beaches in Florida. I think the beaches in Florida are different than beaches in other parts of the world. I think Jerry would be far more comfortable on my childhood beaches in San Diego, which are mostly grass with a very thin amount of sand. So where most people are sitting under shade trees reading trashy novels on the grass. And I can guarantee that Jerry and I will never be at the same beach because I take my dog to Dog Beach where all the dogs are running around throwing sand on everybody. All right, at this time we're going to go ahead and introduce Beverly, who is ready to give her speech evaluation for Jean-Paul. So at this time, let's welcome Beverly Plant for her speech evaluation for Jean-Paul.
Thank you, Lorianne, for that warm welcome. Jean-Paul, your speech was certainly an interesting speech. So something that I was not really expecting because I've always been under the impression that icebreakers were to be about introducing yourself or an aspect of your life. With that said, once I got into it, I really enjoyed it. Your speech showed a lot of Toastmaster experience. It was certainly not a first speech, as your pauses and your presentation shined with your Toastmaster experience. You really spoke intentionally. As I first said, it was an interesting speech. I really liked that you use slides because it helped me stay connected to your various phases of your speeches. Secondly, as I've said, it was easy to follow because you used your slides. And your slides, I loved the use of your graphs to show comparisons of the different nationalities and how they look forward to planning in the future or staying right where they are. Your speech really showed a lot of investigation and study of your topic, and that contributed to my ease of following along. Anyway, I want to thank you for your speech and the experience I've gotten of giving an evaluation, since I haven't evaluated anyone in a very long time. Again, thank you for all your hard work and opening up my eyes to different cultures. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Well, welcome. Thank you, Beverly. We appreciate that. I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to our general evaluator, Parveen, to lead us through the reports.
Thank you. Great meeting so far. Thank you everyone for coming. Now we have our evaluation portion of this meeting. My timer, who is Zen, Nancy. Zen, timers report.
Okay, so I wonder if everyone's been noticing me updating them throughout, but I'll go through it again. Jerry's time on her speech was 22 minutes and 49 seconds. Jean Paul's was 8 minutes and 8 seconds. Then moving on to table topics, Virginia spoke for 1 minute and 20 seconds. Jessica spoke for 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Praveen, you spoke for 1 minute and 15 seconds. Claudia, you spoke for 1 minute and 20 seconds. Kai, you spoke for 1 minute and 46 seconds. And Jerry, you spoke for 1 minute and 35 seconds. Finally, on the evaluation, Beverly, your time was 2 minutes and 1 second. Are we going to have an evaluation for Jean Paul?
Pardon me?
That was John Paul's evaluation.
Oh, my bad. Sorry. I got to focus on the timing.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have the ah counter from Virginia.
Hello, everyone. Today's ah counter report will be nice and simple. Jerry, your speech was flawless. During table topics, you had 1 ah and 1 but. Claudia, during your table topics, you used so 1 time. And Laureen, I caught you with 1 so as well. Jean-Paul, there were a lot of ands. And you had 2 buts. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Next, we have our grammarian report. Kelly.
I did not hear anyone use the word of the day, pratfall. I felt that there were so many things that Jerry said, I could not keep them written down. I really enjoyed about how she talked about the adult temper tantrum. I enjoyed how you said that if you're going to write a book, make sure that you can stand it, your subject matter, and several more. I loved that Michael told us he was calling from the future. And John Paul, you gave a speech that talked about culture, and you took the time to define what culture meant. So I liked that as well. Thank you. That's my report.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have my general evaluators report. Our meeting started on time. We have several guests. We all got an agenda ahead of time. My job is also to evaluate the evaluators. Beverly, Jean-Paul's speech was listed as research and presentation on Google Docs. And we are trying to communicate all of that together so that we have the way of communication. For those of you who are new to Smedley, we use a sign-in on Google Docs to write down our roles. And I do, as VPE, I do auto assign them, and that's where we sign up for our speeches as well. We also have a spot to write down what speech you're working on, the timing and everything that as well. I would encourage everyone in the future, if there's anything specific that you're working on, say, for example, John Paul, you were working on, you wanted to do pauses, healthy pauses, then let your evaluator know, and then your evaluator can tailor that as well onto you. We didn't do the round robin today because we had a special speaker. Normally we do the round robin where after the evaluator, each person on the call gets to evaluate John Paul for his speech and provide insight. Now, if you don't have anything new to say, then you can pass, but this kind of gives you a 360 evaluation, and that's a great approach. You can also choose to do a workshop and workshop the speech along the way. So at Smedley, we have different opportunities to do evaluations. So thank you, Beverly, for evaluating John Paul. In the future, as evaluators, let's take it as a speech and focus on what the speaker wants to evaluate. Your speech was research and presentation, but if there's something else that we want to fix on, we can. So thank you. And with that, I will send it back to our Toastmaster, Lorianne Callender.
Thank you very much, General, I cannot say that word, General Evaluator Parveen. At this time, we're going to go ahead and start the process of wrapping up our meeting. I hope everybody feels that they can write a book with sand in their toes. I certainly feel that way. I'm here barefooted, and I've been sitting here cleaning out between my toes this whole meeting going, is there sand between my toes? So I've been having a good time. I feel like I'm ready to go to the beach. My dog certainly is ready to go and let loose. She hasn't been to the beach in 2 months, and she is ready to go. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and the same folks that I called on before, our first-time guests, I'm going to go ahead and call on you at this time to give your feedback on how you enjoyed the Order of Smedley on this fine Saturday morning. So let's start in the order of my Brady Bunch screen. Michael, you're first up.
I like these positive vibes you created here. Excellent. You gave me the motivation to attend your meetings every Saturday as I can. One of the things, something that like we also in our Kifisia club in Greece, we also improved, is that we pass the agenda in a PDF file to everybody. Write it in a Word file and then convert it to PDF and pass it to everybody who attends. Another one that I had to mention is that I like too much Jerry's speech. Just, I have to say something to Jerry. Do not be more cool when you present your speech. You have not been prideful. So, were not. I heard a voice in the background. Something you were hitting in your desk on time. Tap 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 tap. Something you were hitting, I suppose. But I have to express to you my great respect for your commitment and consistency. That you wake up early in the morning at 5:30 to write your own books. About Jean-Paul Ball, excellent speech. You had only technical issues about your voice, something like parasites I was hearing many times, and I was losing you while you were talking. It's something you have to fix. But by the way, respect to you too. Thank you, over to you.
Thank you, Michael. Next up is Claudia Mitchell-McLeod.
Thank you. I enjoyed the meeting immensely. I will say I was disappointed that I didn't get to experience the round robin evaluations. I was very curious about how you did that. So sorry I didn't hear that. But other than that, I also really enjoyed the fact that there are people here from other countries. I thought that was super cool because that's just always really neat. Uh, I think I would like to come back and visit again. And thank you very much for making me feel welcome and giving me an opportunity to participate.
Thank you, Claudia. When you come back on the June 13th meeting, you will experience the round robins. The way that they typically work is each person gets 15 seconds, basically a one sentence response that's unique in the room. So the evaluator goes first, and because we like to challenge ourselves, the evaluator typically goes as soon as the speech is done. They get a 1-minute pause. The evaluate, just like, you know, in contest setting, the evaluator goes, and then when she's done, then she calls on everybody in the room. We pass the microphone around the room, and everyone gets about 15 seconds. The timer throws up a red flag at 15 seconds, and it's just enough time to give one sentence that's unique to what's been said in the room already. And so that's nice because it's public. Other groups like Parveen and Kelly's other group does love notes where it's private and they're passed. This one is public, so everyone gets to benefit from the learning. So the next one, and we don't do it for table topics, we only do it for the speeches. And each speech, and also each speech can have a different type of evaluation depending on the request of the speaker. So if the speaker wants to, as Parveen said earlier, workshop their speech, where they're being stopped mid-speech to correct a pratful error, then the evaluator gets to stop them mid-speech, correct them, and they get to try it again and keep going throughout the speech that way. That lengthens how much time they need. So a 7-minute speech with stop and starts might take 20-30 minutes. They might not get the benefit of a round robin. So it just depends on the goals of the speaker and what kind of evaluations they want. So that's one of the benefits of being an advanced group, is you get to use lots of different evaluation tools to actually get really good at speaking out loud in front of people. All right, next up for remarks, Megs, you are new to our club. We'd like to hear from you on how well you enjoyed today's meeting.
I want to say I really enjoyed the meeting, and I want to pass on something my club has been working hard on doing, especially because everyone here is, as I understand from club description, will be doing public speaking. And that is, when we're conducting Toastmasters meeting, calling people up, commenting, use first and last name, because in a professional venue, that is helpful in so many ways. It honors the people. It lets everybody get to know who everybody else is. Very professional. In the US Senate, they don't say, bring up Joey, you want to say something. You know, it's always Joey Simmons. And to demonstrate that, or echo my own suggestion from my club, I want to say, I so appreciated Jerry Allman's talk on writing a book and Jean-Paul Roubaud's on cultural perspective. Both were so interesting. You were so well prepared that actually I am writing a book, and you both evoked ideas and things I need to follow up that I want to add in my own book. So thank you, thank you. So enjoyed this wonderful meeting. Thanks.
Thank you, Megs. Thank you for your feedback. Certainly something to consider for the future. And I see that we have Daryl joined us a little bit late. Daryl, I don't know how much of the meeting you got to enjoy, but would you like to introduce yourself and let us know what you enjoyed about our meeting?
Sure. Thanks, everyone. I'm actually joining you from the road. I'm on my way driving up to Jacksonville right now. But I want to thank Jeanette Sweeney for the invite to check you folks out. I came in as Jerry was probably starting her speech, and I got to say I learned something new. So thank you very much for that, Jerry. And Jean-Paul, I've heard your name. Congratulations on being newly elected. And I just also want to say, you know, great speech, great presentation. And when all is said and done, I just want to say this has been a great meeting because I pulled away something new and I learned. So again, thank you all for a great meeting. Thanks, Jeanette, for the invite, and thank you to everybody for doing your part. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Daryl. We appreciate your comments, and be safe out there on the road. You sounded fabulous, by the way. A little road noise, but you sounded absolutely fabulous. As a reminder to our guests who are joining us, I put in the chat box a link to today's meeting where you can go over there and fill out our exit survey. We like you to fill it out there because it drops into a database that we can peruse at future officer meetings. Lands into a nice spreadsheet that we can take a look at and improve our club based on your comments. So please go out there and drop that in, and of course it automatically pops you into our constant contact so you get bombarded with information from the Order of Smedley. Yes, Jerry. Here, I'll hit the button for you. Hold on, I'll do it. It's not working. It's not unmuting. There you go. All right.
Okay. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak to you today. As you have just witnessed, I am technologically challenged. And during the presentation, when my screen went blank, I spoke to a blank screen. I did not have the benefit of the timer. And I somehow thought that someone else would be leading the question and answer from my presentation. So I just want to say, if anyone has questions, I'm available through Messenger on Facebook, or you can go to my web page, jerryallman.com. You can find my email address there. So I would be happy to communicate with any of you on a one-to-one if you have questions of me. Thank you very much for letting me come today.
All right, thank you. Sorry, we weren't aware that that needed to happen. We will take careful of that next time. Also, guests, expect an email from Beverly Plant. She is our VPM. She'll be sending you a nice little note as well as our membership packet. She'll be more than happy to get you signed up and take some money off of your hands to join our wonderful club. Members, I need you to stay after the meeting. We're going to have our officer elections immediately following this meeting. Claudia Mitchell-McLeod will be leading our election process. Our next club meeting is June 13th. Members are welcome to join us in person for the first time at an alternate location, which is on the Google sign-up sheet. So please go out there and sign up if you're going to be in person or not, so that our SAA can plan accordingly. If you do not sign up to go in person, then please visit online so that we can prepare appropriately for the number of people who will be coming, just to keep everyone safe. But all members are welcome to join in person, but we will kindly ask all guests to continue visiting the Order of Smedley online for the time being. So June 13th will be the next club meeting. Parveen, as VPE, do we have a special agenda, or is it going to be our first regular club meeting in quite some time?
That will be our first regular club meeting where we return to doing member speeches. As VPE, please, I implore you all to look at any pathways, projects that you want to complete, and then I can work with you to figure out what kind of evaluation would be best for you. A round robin, a workshop, maybe you need heckling. That happened to me. I did a special workshop where I was heckled my entire speech, even though the project says it's only supposed to be once per person, but Smedley heckled me the entire time.
But what about your evaluating skills? We need to make sure that you're up to the tailoring. How do you evaluate and tailor an evaluation for me?
I'm sorry, it was a little muffled.
How do you tailor an evaluation for me?
So how do you tailor it? So perhaps maybe Lorianne would prefer a round robin versus Kelly. Maybe she's doing a presentation to the Realtors Association about the state of real estate.
But what you have to understand is that you have to be very, very careful
He's
about.
heckling you, Parveen.
I know he is.
I'm going to mute him right now. Give him a handout.
Thank you. Yes, I know that was one of your favorite speeches that I did. I think the whole club had a lot of fun with that heckling.
I remember paper being thrown across the room, paper airplanes. I think Brenda and I just started off in a whole thing on our own, laughing and talking as if there was not a speaker in the room. But Parveen, the professional that she does, kept us all in line very well. She actually completed her speech from beginning to end.
But just so to give a little background, I sometimes speak to physicians, and these physicians, a lot of them are older, and sometimes they feel that I don't provide enough value and expertise, and they decide to have multiple conversations, side conversations. They tend to challenge me. So this is something that I have had to use many times in these tips and tricks, and I've gone to special classes on how to deal with hecklers, which has been great because I've used that skill set in those speeches that I do, as well as my Toastmaster Club for the presentation and for the project. It's an elective and it's a fun project. I would encourage anyone to do that project. And you can do it here at Smedley because we are all practiced hecklers.
Yes, we are. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. We'd love to have you back. To come back, simply please RSVP. Even if you're coming back over and over, please each time RSVP at theorderofsmedley.org, just like you did this time, so that we can keep our eyes out for incoming guests and be prepared to receive you properly. And also get your email address and drop it into our constant contact so we can barrage you with unwanted emails as often as we want. See you later. Until next time, enjoy your Saturday.
Members, stay on.
Stay.
Thank you, everybody.
Stay.
Stay, members.
As I tell my dog, stay. We actually counted her vocabulary words last night to see if I was giving the right number to people. My husband said, "You're telling people she knows too many vocabulary words." And so we counted them last night. So she's up to, so he was right. I was wrong on the number I was telling people. She actually knows more. She's up to 38 vocabulary words.
Cool.
So she's working on carry, where she picks up a bucket by the handle and carries it to the location we ask her to carry it to, whether it's the kitchen or to a particular person. She can carry the bucket there. And then tall, where this is tall, and she stands up on her hind legs and just stands, which is easy for a little dog. It's harder for an 86-pound dog.
What breed is she?
She's a chocolate lab. She's 16 months old. We just got her, but ever since we got her, we put her in obedience training. So she goes to school twice a week.
Where does she go?
Right now, she goes to 2 places. She goes to Petco to get the Good Citizens test. Yeah. And then she's also enrolled, which she was about to take that test before COVID started up. So she still has to take that test, but they're not doing them yet. And then she started at PUP to be trained as—
oh my God, I love PUP.
Yeah, to be visiting hospitals and nursing homes.
Yeah, we trained at Upper Suncoast in Clearwater.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends are involved in Project PUP.
Yeah, so she's being trained for that. And the thing that has hurt her the most, besides not being able to see her schoolmates and get out in public as she has in the past, because I didn't want strangers petting her and passing that along, is for those of you that are unfamiliar, in PUP, they have to have their nails buffed every other week. Yeah. Well, they haven't had grooming for 2 weeks, so her nails have grown unusually long. So yesterday was the first day that she's had them buffed, and they're still too long. So they're gonna have to work them back down.
Yeah.
So, all righty. So let's go ahead and get into our officer elections. I'm going to take a quick head count here on who's here. I know Jean May is not here, but he's also has asked not to be in a role because he is what is he?
PDQ.
PDQ. And John Paul,
PQD.
the same thing, but he's club growth director. So they both have a lot on their plate, but he does get a vote. He does get to stay, which leaves us with 7 members to fill 8 offices. So not an option. Everyone gets to take a role. I'm just saying there's no hiding at the Order of Smedley. We've all held offices. We all know what we're doing. We're all adults here. And I think all of us have held many of these offices before. So I hope we can do this quickly. Now, Claudia is here to run this for us and to oversee it since we're all running for something. I've asked her to come and do this so that we had an outside official, if you will, oversee this for the fairness of it. I'm going to put in the link again in the chat box. So there, what? Oh, wrong person. Shoot. I just sent it to a guest. Oh, well. Oh, well. Okay, so I put the link to the Google sheet of what the roles are, who we have, and what people are wanting to run for. So what we have is, and this can change. This doesn't have to be just the way it is. I'm willing to fill whatever role that needs to be filled. I do have my heart set on VP of IT for sure. Parveen can do SAA, Jeanette can do secretary, Beverly can do VPM. Zan, are you okay remaining treasurer? Okay, I just nominated you for that. Okay, which leaves Kellyanne and Virginia to pick a role you prefer to fill. See how I encourage that participation?
Pick a role, and the only 2 left we have are Kelly and Virginia.
Yeah, well, I was about to respectfully decline in chat. I've been asked to do a couple of roles, one at the state level, for a different organization, one at the state level that's going to eat up a lot of time. So until I know that I have that, I'm not comfortable in adding more to my plate at this time. If I don't get that position, I would be happy to add a position and do something in this club. What positions are currently open?
President, VPE, and
membership.
No, she said she wants membership. Beverly said VP.
Oh, she wants membership.
yeah, she's just going to continue with that role. Someone's typing. Is that Claudia typing? Who's typing?
No, I'm not typing.
Someone's typing. Who's typing?
Not me.
Who's the secretary?
Maybe your guest.
Me. I am.
Oh, thank you.
So I'm sorry, could we revisit the open roles you have are president, VPE, and you said something else or nothing else?
VPPR.
I thought you were taking that.
I thought you
Well,
were.
I don't have to take it because, you know, that's a light role that someone like Virginia could take on since it doesn't take a lot of time.
Okay, fine, VPPR.
Okay.
I'm just concerned.
If someone's in there typing, because they're listening and someone's typing. Google ain't this smart.
What do you mean?
Guys, okay.
I don't see anybody typing.
Yeah, I pulled the document up, but I'm not typing. I'm just looking at it.
Yeah, someone's typing. It ain't me. Okay, so I don't mind doing VPE since that's still open, but I cannot be president. So someone has got to be president of this club.
Don't you think that you would want someone who's been a member of the club more than so many meetings to be your president?
No, because it's an advanced club.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's an advanced club.
Fine, I'll take over president.
And
Lorianne's been trying to twist my arm.
Aren't you president of another club though, too?
Yeah, that's why, and then I have another role.
Well, then it should make it really easy. You just do one, then do the other.
And then I have another role. Plus, you know, I was not
I
working.
can take VPE on as long as I can train someone to take it over.
You want to be VPE?
I'll take it on as long as I can train someone to take it over. Okay.
Well, I was going to take VPE since no one else had it. You're treasurer.
Right.
What do you
I
wanna
can
do?
both roles.
Huh?
I've done both roles before.
So you want to be VPE?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
You're still SAA, right, Harvey?
Because the hospital doesn't know when we can go back. So we may have to use our alternate location all summer long.
All right. So it looks like as a club, we have filled our role. So at this point, I'll let Claudia take it over, review the slate and her method of going through this.
Actually, guys, sorry. Never mind. I'm sorry, Lorianne. Can you take VPE?
You decide. I don't care.
All right, I'm dropping out.
Huh?
I'm dropping out of it. Sorry.
So you just want to be treasurer?
What?
Yeah.
Zane,
Have
you been president of this club before?
Who, me?
Yes.
No, but I don't have time to fill it.
No. I guess what I'm asking is because I know Lorianne as past president would be available for questions and everything, but should she not be? Because I also know she's very busy with her work and I'll be very busy with my work. If I need to lean on somebody, would you be available for me to reach out to?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I've served
Like a
as president.
co-president, kind of like a co-president.
Someone, you know, since
An assistant. We
barely-
have assistants in Trinity, Odessa, right, Kelly?
We do. So that would make my life maybe a little bit easier. And it
Yeah,
really-
the assistant is nice because that person then just kind of helps and kind of assists when the other person needs it.
if I'm out for a meeting, you could, you know, get out or you could.
Okay. All right, Claudia, go ahead and take, okay, the slate is updated. So go ahead and take it over.
Okay, my understanding is, well, first of all, I just need to make sure there are no more nominations from the floor. Right?
Correct.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
There are no more nominations from the floor, correct?
Correct.
So I think what we can do is use election by acclamation. That's allowed only when one person is nominated. And so the way that goes is, by the way, acclamation is a loud, eager expression of approval, praise, or assent. So to elect by acclamation means to elect by a loud expression of approval, such as clapping. So it's more like an announcement, and it goes like, the name of the person is the, let me see. By enthusiastic approval, we're going to say that, for example, Kelly is the president, and then people will clap, and that will be how you all vote her in as president. Does that make sense?
Yeah. She's,
We
by
have-
the way, she's using the Robert's Rule of Order. She reacquainted herself to prepare for today.
Thank you, Claudia.
No worries. It's all, you know, it's all about Google. So we'll start with president. The president will be Kelly Hardin. I can't see, so could you clap?
Zan, get in there.
Thank you. The vice president of education will be Lorianne Calendar. Do you all clap?
Yes.
The vice president of public relations will be Virginia Papadoulis. The vice president of membership will be Beverly Plant. The secretary will be Jeanette Sweeney. The treasurer will be Zane Nancy. The Sergeant at Arms will be Parveen Vahora. And the Vice President IT will also be Lorian Callender. And that completes your slate of officers for the upcoming year.
Thank you, Claudia.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. We don't have to cast a ballot or anything. That's it.
No, that was it. You were voting by acclamation.
Got it. We're voted in. Congratulations, everybody. Madam President, why don't you take us out of today's meeting?
I don't
Actually, you're still president, Lorianne.
Oh, I am? Well, when, okay, so I guess
June 30th.
July 1st is the first date of the new year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
So you get to train me for the next month.
okay, good. 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 Claudia, we don't have to have an induction or anything. That was it, right? That's it.
That was it.
Okay, how official is that?
The secretary should note that in the minutes, though.
I have that. But I think when we have our new area director, I think we should still do an induction in person to give them practice as well.
Or something special.
Yeah.
An official handing off of the gavel, which is in the club suitcase at Parveen's house. So that's where your gavel is, Kelly. It's at Parveen's house.
It's ensconced at Parveen's.
Yeah, well,
At least for the summer.
well, no, she's the SAA, so she'll just keep it there. Okay. Anything else that we need to go over before we take off?
We have to, Verlin asked about our dues. I know can you just refresh our members, our minds so we can tell people about them?
Yes, so the club dues have been reduced for this next year to $20. That's because we've got a good fund already that was unused because we had funds set aside for expenses related, advertising expenses related to the conference and to other workshops, which we didn't spend. So that money rolls over to our next year. So we have quite a bit in savings. I want to say close to $567, I believe. So we reduced our club dues for this next year to $20 a person. When this next year is up, we might want to reconsider that based on any refreshment of technology assets at that time. We do have a couple planned expenses. I know we need to buy a new web camera for the laptop once we start meeting in person again. I know that needs to be done, but I found one that's only $40. Right now, that's the only technology upgrade that we expect, in addition to the annual Zoom renewal, which is coming up, I believe, in July.
It's $20 per 6 months, correct?
Per 6 months.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
that should be sufficient for the next year if we keep with the expenses we have planned for already.
But I assume there is also an assumption in how many members would contribute that 20.
Right.
Because we, at the moment, have 9 members, something like that.
Yes.
Yes.
So that means $180, but is 180 enough, or did we work on having 20 members and therefore
Right.
400?
So we're in active recruitment phase.
We're in beat the clock phase.
Yeah. It is enough to cover existing expenses. Anything over, then we'll do another nice gift for the hospital for kindly donating the space to us.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so VPPR and membership, of course, and everybody. How are we at this beat the clock? That means to be distinguished, we have to have how many members by June 30th?
20.
Okay.
I have a proposal.
We're not going to make distinguished because we don't have the education.
You may have it by June 30th.
Well, we might if we can get, well, if Jean-Paul gives us his level 1 and we get 3 more level 1s, most of us have been turning in other advanced levels. we've only have a few turned in for the whole year. Most of us have been giving them to our home clubs. So that's the challenge that we're going to have to face next year.
Okay.
I'm going to give you one more. So
I'm
that'll be
thankful
another
that we were
invitation.
able to make the minimum to stay in good standing.
Sure. I'm going to throw a couple of ideas out there. First thing is, now we're a multi-district club. Thank you, Jean-Paul. Okay. I would propose that given our influx of visitors from other parts of the planet, that we make the ask from, I know that some of these guys were already recruiting, but for one, if we can put a press release out to John Paul, your district up in New York, that's piece number one. And then piece number two, if we can get a press release out to the districts in India as well as Japan, perhaps that would be a source of some membership for us.
Also, too, is District 47. I think there's been several District 47 people attending District 48 events lately.
Yeah. So if that's the case, then that's actually not that far off, and they're in our time zone, you know? One other thought, and I'm just putting this out there, okay? Because we have to work out the technicals behind it. But I was chit-chatting a little bit with the president of the club I was attending before this meeting, and I threw the idea out there, what if we held a joint meeting around 8 o'clock our time, AM, you know? Is that an idea that people could get behind?
Every week or just occasionally?
Just once in a while, maybe a special event type of situation. I would not want to do that. I would not want us to do that every week because they have different goals than we do, you know, and they obviously, if we try and combine the meetings, then some of their people will never get to speak and some of ours will never get to speak, you know?
We could kind of have fun with it and make it like a Toastmaster scrimmage.
Toastmaster scrimmage.
Maybe we could do like a table topics meeting and just see who did the best table topics.
Yeah, have a battle of table topics.
Yeah. We could have a mini international speech contest because they have 2 district competitors in their club. Misaki was one. There was another guy too.
Yeah, but the table topics invites more people to participate.
Right.
We almost get 100% participation if we do it right.
Okay. So if you guys are game for it, I mean, we have to pick a date and do it. They actually meet on the same day we do. So
you can almost say like, you send your 5 best and we'll send our 5 best and we'll battle it out.
That's true.
Yeah.
Have a family feud battle.
Exactly. We could have an outside person.
You know what we could do is we could have the trios from our district, the trios from John Paul's district, and the trios from their district. That will be 9 judges to vote.
That would be fun. And if I could throw one more, if I could throw one more thing out there, we could, if anyone wants to do prepared speeches in that meeting, it'll have to be an even number of speeches, but we'll pair cross-district cross-district evaluations. Could be fun.
Yeah, I want to piggyback off Zane's idea about going to different districts. And in terms of time zone, I think it makes sense, but almost I think I have to think through for whom it wouldn't work. Only people who would really be sleeping at this time. And I have to look at the kind of the map and see where people would really be sleeping while we're up here on a Saturday morning. But maybe there's almost nobody. Maybe it's in the Pacific, a small club that because of that. But all districts, in theory, somebody can join, like the person from Michael from Greece this afternoon. So, but the rest of Europe is also in, and almost the rest of Asia is also in.
Most of Asia is, the only parts that are really not are like really like into the Pacific Islands. Okay.
You know, I'm just saying there's a small slither of. I think we can do kind of cold calling almost. If they have a website, or not a website, if they have a Facebook page, you can post something like that and say this is a global, and maybe you could even think the Order of Smedley. Obviously, I love the name.
So if you have ever wanted to join us, but you didn't want to travel, this could be the perfect opportunity for you to attend from the comfort of your own home. So Jesse and I spent countless hours.
Who's speaking?
I have no clue. But
I think it's
I
Zane.
have a question. Kindly forgive me one moment. I have a question.
Sure.
So if I'm understanding properly, you would like to have a global table topics event.
I don't think your boyfriend likes you.
Is that correct?
He likes you. Okay.
That's the general process idea that's being put forward.
Okay. I'm pretty sure I can get England and Greece.
Ooh.
I'm gonna.
Oh, we're okay, thanks.
And Zane, I understand you can get Japan.
Yeah, I can get, well, I don't know if I can get the people, but I recently was involved in some contests in Eastern Europe, Southern Europe, Switzerland, Italy, Bulgaria. I have the names and I worked with them, so I could ask them, and I'm sure they were excited. You know, it's just that because it was such a global project.
Okay, that sounds good.
But I think the idea of a global thing we should look at it in terms of translating into members.
Not only that, but if we have this global event, which is a wonderful idea, and I'm all for it because one, I love intermingling with other Toastmasters from other countries. I feel it's beneficial and it's a learning experience, and yes, it could garner new members. But we would have to come up with a whole game plan for this, how it's going to play out.
Right, because I've seen it gone from me putting it forward 2 countries, okay, to suddenly possibly being 4 to 6 countries in one bill, okay? You know, and you have multiple clubs involved, that's going to grow. Yeah, we'll get, we may get members out of it, but having that many people, you're going to have to figure out how many people are going to be speaking from each district, and from each club. Because otherwise, I don't want to put people off,
I think we have to think about 2 things: whether we want it to just be a global event where we invite people in, or whether we're going to have a kind of a league, somebody representing the US and or yes, US, Europe. Maybe that's the next step.
Well,
but let's just get people in from whoever we know, and otherwise we have to be representative who really can speak on behalf of everybody in all the clubs in Greece. They don't have a contest there just to determine that. Let's just get people in.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we're talking about 2 different things. I think that if we did something with the club in Japan, like Zane was saying, that would be one event, and a second event would be a global event. If you break it down into that, it's more manageable. You'll learn from the first event, and then the second event, you could be more global.
Got it. Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. Thank you.
But if we do a global event, we're limited to what, 99 people, Lorianne?
Yes, but if we needed to upgrade it to more, we could.
Or
right now, we max out at 100, but if we needed to add on temporarily more, we could do that.
Or we could request the district account temporarily.
Yeah, that's true too, because they are allowed up to 500.
Right, and we can use their account for one day.
That's true.
Yeah, that might even get the district to back the event and do something like that, So, we'll see. Okay.
I have a question before we go. If we did a large scale event and we got the district, would we be able to put like groups of people in those chat rooms and then everybody do their contest separately, and then we take the winners from the chat rooms and then have the last round or something like that? Is that what we would do?
I think it would be best if each club's had their people beforehand.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you go to the international conference, I'm not sure if you've been.
No.
The districts have already held all their contests. They've already arranged for everything. So we want them ready. We want to be ready, because if we ask them if we try to put too much time into the agenda, then people are going to drop off, and I do not want that for anyone. I want attention spans to be engaged.
Okay. Okay. Well, it just sounds wonderful. Thank you, everyone. I really need to get a delivery.
Go ahead, Virginia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Virginia.
Thank you. Okay, I gotta run to everyone. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Parveen.
Anything else?
Nope, we're good. Everyone can go.
Right.
All right.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.